In the world of professional wrestling, few names carry the same cult aura and emotional depth as Raven. A man who turned chaos into art, pain into poetry, and rebellion into his identity. From ECW's dark corners to WCW's wild brawls and WWE's grand stages, Raven's story has always been that of a tortured genius, a brilliant performer who never quite reached the mountaintop he seemed destined to conquer. But recently, the wrestling world was reminded once again of his complex legacy, when Raven opened up about coming to terms with never winning the WWE World title. A career that redefined the anti-hero. Before we dive into Raven's reflections, let's take a moment to remember the man behind the persona. Born Scott Levy in 1964, Raven built his career on defying every stereotype the wrestling world threw at him. When other superstars chased glitz and glory, Raven embraced darkness and despair. His grunge-inspired character, complete with ripped jeans, a disheveled look, and cryptic promos, made him a standout star in an era dominated by muscle-bound heroes. His message was clear: wrestling didn't have to be shiny, it could be real, emotional, and even painful. From his early run as Johnny Polo in WWE to his breakout in ECW as the tortured soul Raven, Levy found his true identity in the broken and the misunderstood. ECW glory and the birth of a legend. In Extreme Championship Wrestling, Raven became an icon. His feuds with Tommy Dreamer, the Sandman, and even Cactus Jack are still considered some of the greatest storytelling arcs in wrestling history. The Raven vs. Dreamer saga, in particular, wasn't just a rivalry, it was a psychological masterpiece. Every promo, every attack, every emotional breakdown told the story of two men who couldn't escape each other's orbit. In ECW, Raven won the World Heavyweight Championship twice, but beyond the gold, he won something more valuable: respect. He proved that wrestling could be about emotion, depth, and art, not just spectacle. The WCW chapter, The Flock and the System. When Raven joined WCW in the late 1990s, fans expected big things. And in many ways, he delivered. He brought his ECW aura into a mainstream environment, forming The Flock, a rebellious group of misfits and outcasts that mirrored Raven's own philosophy. His promos were cryptic, intellectual, and drenched in cynicism, a poetic contrast to the over-the-top characters dominating WCW television. But while his creative spark burned bright, Raven found himself caught in the politics of a company overflowing with egos. He captured the United States Championship and Hardcore title, yet the main event scene, where the likes of Hogan, Nash, and Goldberg reigned, remained closed off to him. The WWE return, a dream that never came true. When Raven made his WWE return in 2000, many believed that this was finally his moment. After all, the Attitude Era was tailor-made for his persona, dark, edgy, and psychologically layered. His look, his promos, his attitude, everything fit. Fans imagined dream rivalries with icons like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Undertaker. But despite flashes of brilliance, including his memorable role in the chaotic hardcore division and his classic match at WrestleMania X7, Raven's WWE run never reached the heights many had hoped for. He became a 12-time hardcore champion, which showcased his creativity and toughness, but the world title, that elusive symbol of wrestling greatness, never came his way. Raven speaks: acceptance, reflection, and peace. In a recent interview, Raven opened up with rare honesty about how he's come to terms with never winning the WWE World Championship. He said, "For a long time, I thought that not holding the WWE World title defined me. I thought it meant I failed. But over time, I realized something important: it's not the title that defines the wrestler, it's the legacy you leave behind." Raven explained that while championships bring recognition, artistry and authenticity are what truly stand the test of time. He continued, "I didn't want to be another bodybuilder holding a belt. I wanted to make people think, feel, and question. I wanted fans to connect with the pain and the truth behind the character. And I did that, in spades." What winning really means. For Raven, the lack of a WWE World title isn't a mark of failure, it's a reflection of his unique path. He wasn't a corporate superstar. He was the embodiment of rebellion. The guy who didn't fit the mold, and didn't want to. In fact, his career has aged like fine wine. Younger generations of wrestlers, from Bray Wyatt to Jon Moxley, have openly cited Raven as an influence. His ability to merge storytelling, psychology, and raw emotion set a foundation for characters who exist in moral gray areas, the anti-heroes that dominate modern wrestling. Fans' perspective, the title that never was. Among fans, there's always been a lingering sentiment that Raven should have been WWE champion at least once. Online discussions, fan forums, and documentaries often highlight how his creativity and charisma deserved a bigger spotlight. Some even argue that Raven's 2001 feud with Kane or Big Show could have been the perfect opportunity to elevate him into the main event scene. But even without that gold around his waist, his impact was undeniable. In many ways, Raven's character was too complex for the WWE system of the early 2000s. His dark philosophy and poetic promos were ahead of their time, something modern fans appreciate more deeply now than they did then. The mind of a philosopher, the heart of a fighter. In wrestling, every character tells a story, but Raven's story was different. It wasn't about dominance, it was about humanity. He portrayed depression, self-doubt, and existential frustration in a way no one else dared to. His famous quote, "The Raven, Nevermore," became more than a catchphrase, it was a mission statement. Through every loss, every feud, every cryptic promo, Raven showed that sometimes the greatest battles are internal. And maybe, that's why fans still talk about him with reverence today. Coming to peace with the past, Raven now admits that he's at peace with how things turned out. He said, "When I look back, I realize I didn't need that title. My career spoke for itself. The people who got me, they really got me. That's worth more than any belt." In a world where fame often overshadows substance, Raven stands as a reminder that artistry and individuality can carve their own kind of immortality. He might not have had the glitz of a champion, but he had something much rarer, authenticity. Legacy beyond gold. Today, when wrestling historians talk about influence, Raven's name always comes up. His storytelling style inspired a generation of performers to think beyond the ring, to treat wrestling as a form of expression rather than a formula. Even without a WWE World title, Raven's career continues to be celebrated in documentaries, interviews, and Hall of Fame discussions. His journey reminds us that greatness isn't always measured by trophies, sometimes, it's measured by impact. Raven turned pain into poetry. He turned chaos into character. And in doing so, he became immortal in his own way.